Box to box overlap. South Africa 29, France 28. Wow. Yo. You know what that means? Le bleu, allez à la maison. Restez à la maison. It's over. It's over for Le bleu. You are staying home. You're not going home. You're staying home. Yo. Like, I don't even know. Like, I don't even support South Africa like that. But just in this game I was. And first of all, Southern Hemisphere teams like all of us have to go we have to go far. Like that's just what I wanted. Semi-final, England is the only Northern Hemisphere team. Ireland are out, Wales are out, France are now out. Fiji couldn't do the job, but it's okay. Interesting thing I just found out actually, looking at the teams that have made the semi-finals, only England topped their group. Like South Africa was second, New Zealand was second to France, and who's the other team? Argentina finished second to England. So the three of the four teams did not top their groups. That is insane. This game was madness, like pure madness. Like from a coaching perspective, I have so much to talk about. I don't even know how long this is going to be. I'll try and keep it short, but I have so much to talk about. Let's just start from the beginning. The line speed of South Africa's line speed was insane. And that line speed puts a lot of pressure. They caused a lot of turnovers. They would make France make hasty decisions. Like the ball would come out because of the line speed, then the ball is not going straight to hand because the box are already there, And it led to turnovers, penalty turnovers, it led to knock-ons, it just led to mistakes. And the French could not deal at certain moments. But then the moments that they dealt with the line speed, their counter was the chip kick. And the chip kick works to perfection, like on several occasions. Like the first few minutes of the game, there was a Jalibert chip kick that almost led to a try, like literally in the first 3 minutes. Even later in the game, when the game was close, though, when France were 4 points down, I think with 11 minutes to go, the chip kick led to, I think Ramos gathered, and then things happened, and it led to a penalty that made the game 29-28. So that chip kick was insane. One thing I'll say about the coaching, I don't know, like if these two teams are not. I feel like the better coaches out there in the World Cup, because France and South Africa are not multi-phase teams. They don't go multi-phases. They want to strike immediately, right? 1-2 phases, and they want to get into whatever they're doing. You saw it a lot with Manny Libok today. Like, he'd get the ball, he'd kick off the second phase or third phase. And actually, both times, the first two times he did that, both led to South African tries. First one, I think, was Katley Yarense, and who was the one who scored? Dialende. Dialende was amazing in that, that second try. Like, his work rate. Like, this game was about work rate. The players with work rate shown. Mauvaka. I will get to Mauvaka in a second. Dialende. Jesse Kriel. Like, these boys were like, they were just shining, because it's like both teams cannot handle each other when the game is broken. It's like the coaches haven't coached the team to counter the third, fourth, fifth moves, right? Like if I have a move, the second count, like when the other coach counters my move, I should be knowing, like, okay, we're doing a quick, like our line speed is quick. That means we're going to leave space in the back. How do we counter that? I mean, how will France counter that? They will kick the ball. So if they kick the ball, how are we going to counter them kicking the ball? And it's like the coaches are not. It's like they didn't think about 2-3 phases down the line. I could say they didn't coach them that well, but also, the French coach and the South African coach, they know each other quite well. Like they have spent quite a lot of time, like as managers, I think, just going over tactics and stuff. So you could also say they know each other inside out. So maybe that's another thing, and that's why you saw them trying out different things. Like they were trying out like NBA type of adjustments. Like when you watch NBA and you get to the playoffs, and let's say the whole season we've started with a starting five, and that starting five won us 60 games. But you get to the playoffs, and our starting five cannot keep up with LeBron or cannot keep up with Jokic. So we go to a big man. We go to a lineup that we never used, like majority of the playoffs, of the season. And then now we have to adjust the playoffs because you have to adjust to the matchup. I sort of saw something close to that. Like South Africa were doing things that were not them. For example, the ball was kicked and then it was a mark. Normally you get a mark, you get the ball and you kick it back, right? And then let's defend higher up the pitch. South Africa actually called for a scrum. Like, I don't remember the last time. I don't think I've ever seen that actually. Like, calling a scrum from a mark. Like, it's insane. Unless it's like a tier 1 team playing like a tier 10 team, right? And you know they cannot handle scrum pressure. That's the only time, like, you might think of doing it, because I don't think I've seen it, like, with my eyes, right? So, there was that. And then the second time the ball came over, Kobus got the ball, and then you saw he kind of hesitated to call the mark, and I was like, okay, this is definitely something they've been told to do, which is like a curveball. You have to have curveballs when you're coaching against the best. It's just that when the curveballs came, I feel like each team could not handle, right? This, like, the other thing about the two teams is the work rate players. Peter Mauvaka, my man of the match. This boy had a line break in the first, like, 5-10 minutes, getting turnovers, off lineouts. His lineouts were on point. He always does like 5 lineouts and like 1 or 2 are straight, right? But nothing. But when he caught the ball, he was the biggest ball carrier. And one thing he has proven to me today is that you can bully this South African team. Normally, in a quarterfinal game, a South African team never gets bullied, right? Like, South Africa is one of those teams that they will bully you into submission. South Africa were bullied today, and Mauvaka was one of the reasons why. Like, he was immense. He scored a try in the corner, like, off Duport's quick thinking. Another thing about South Africa, actually, let me finish with Mauvaka first. Like, it was off a Duport tap, and then, like, penalty advantage. Duport picked the ball, scratched it straight to the wing, Mauvaka into the corner. Like, Mauvaka today, for me, like, he proved to me. I thought when Marshall went down or got injured, I was like, Mauvaka is basically used as an impact sub, right? But then I think the game plan or the game script, how the game turned out, worked in his favor. It became a loose game. It became the teams really caused each other trouble, and they couldn't handle what each other were throwing at each other, such that the game became so loose. It became like a Fijian sevens game. And that's where someone like Peter Mauvaka, like, shines and revels. And the game script was suited for him. This dude was amazing. Like, Mauvaka he was good. And this is not the first time he's done it. He did it against New Zealand. So you can see he can do it against big teams. And New Zealand, he came on as a sub after like 20-something minutes, the first game of the World Cup. And he came on for Marshall. And you could see that this boy is, yeah, Mauvaka was something else. I want to speak on what Duport did in this game. Like, Duport is a live wire for this team. You can see sometimes he just creates things out of nothing. Like the Mauvaka try, he created out of nothing. But his presence gave me more concern about South Africa. South Africa's defense today, in certain aspects of their defense, was like, I have cause for concern, right? I don't care against England. They have to beat England. I would love a New Zealand SA final in France. So, mole defense. South Africa's mole defense was atrocious. Non-existent. Like, South Africa are known to be the bullies. For them to be bullied, several scrums, the first try where the prop scored, I forget who the prop was. France shoved like 15 meters. But also what they did, again, what I said about coaches throwing curveballs, right? How SA did the mark thing. France also did something where they put Dante, our center, in the lineout, and then they put Peno at the back of the lineout. So when the thing it was coming with force, and like it had a different type of, like, I don't know. I don't know whether that put off South Africa, because that meant either they took someone off, like, or they didn't have enough numbers in the mole, because they're like, these are backs, like they're probably going to try a move or something. So that curveball, that damn, what's the coach? France coach. Why am I forgetting? And I've just mentioned it right now. Like, that curveball was like, yo, South Africa, if you don't get your shit together, like, you are going to be mauled, right? Like, yo, it was, from a tactical perspective, it was so fun to see the coaches throw things at the other coach and see how they react. But, yeah, defense, mole defense. The mole defense was weird. The defense of, like, the blind side, right? Like, there were just times where Dupont, there's a run Dupont made, like literally he had this much space on the blind side and he actually not paying attention. You know, those are things that South Africans don't do. South Africans are switched on, right? Like going through the side and actually going and scoring. I'm just like, yo, bro, like, what are you guys doing, surely? Like, what are you guys doing? Andre Pollard, like, just rushing at a drop goal that's non-existent. The boy is alone on the, not a drop goal, for a chip kick. He's alone on the wing. You have cover, you have 3 players, but you've run and tried to block a chip kick, and now you've come out of the line. You know, like, you're creating pressure. So both teams created unnecessary pressure for themselves. South Africa, mistakes, handling mistakes. Like, it was just certain moments where both teams, it's like, either they were making mistakes from the other team, throwing curveballs at them, or like they were just not, or the pressure was getting to them, right? Which I think is a big reason, like pressure gets to them. But it was, at some point, it was very untidy, like for both teams. Like watching both teams, there were moments where both outfits just looked untidy, you know. Yeah, the French kicking was on point, especially when the line speed was coming up quick. There were times that the South African kicks, the tactical kicking, I need to give a shout out to Manny Libok. Manny Libok made the first kick, the first line conversion, and I was like, the boy is switched on to the second conversion. It was even a better angle, and he just like, anyway, he gave you at least 50%. So that's in terms of the kicks. But one thing I've realized about Manny Libok is that his kicking off the hand is actually amazing. Like, this boy has, if Manny Libok will actually just kick for goal and be an accurate kicker, he doesn't be a 90% kicker. He just needs to get to like 75%, right? Where it's like you're making 3 out of every 4 kicks. I feel like Manny Libok can be one of the best in the world. And those are some of the reasons why he had to be subbed off early. After 45 minutes, like, the coach took out Kobus, Libok, and Mostert, like, at the same time. He was just like, nah, you guys just come out. But you see, if Libok can kick, he's already so good. I mean, he can kick off the hand, and his attack is good, and he has just solid defense. If he could kick off the tee, he could be seeing 60, 70 minutes in a quarterfinal game, right? But I wouldn't hold that against him as well, because even the likes of Sia and all these guys were subbed off within 50 minutes, like 6 players already in. 6 players off the bench. So South African kicking was solid. I just think, Libok just needs to, I don't know, man. Like, he just needs to, and I also don't think Pollard can start a game. Like, either, also because after he came back from his injury, I don't think he's actually had so much playing time, so it would be a risk starting him and then getting injured. He brings experience off the bench, so that's good. Libok is also a much quicker player, so you need to have that speed and diversity. One thing South Africa did very well early with Libok is that they varied their attack. Yeah, there were moments where you'd think they're going to kick and then they go for a run. There was a time they were in their own try area, and once they got the 22, South African typical, you expect them to just kick the ball out. But then the boys were like, nah, like, let's try and run it from here, create some space, then kick it out. And I think that also just gave France cause for hesitation. They're like, hey, wait a minute, like, this is not typical South African play. Like, we expect them, like, once they get the ball there, first tackle phase, and then we kick out. But then the threat of having quick players in the line, that is why I said Willie Leroux cannot start in this game. Like, if once you have Leroux and Pollard, like, your speed just goes down, right? Like, but then now they have Colby, Catley, Arendse, Manny Libok, and Damien Willems. There is speed in that back line. Like, you could see the French at times, they couldn't just come up quickly, because if you come up quick and these guys beat the first man, we're not catching them going back. So they sort of played like a zone defense, right? Where it's like, we'll just try and push up a bit, but then cover the space where you guys can come. If we tackle you and you're in front of us, that's fine. But we're not going to give you that option of trying to kick behind us. And that speed gave them a bit of, it made the French just hesitate a bit with their line speed. Also, that wasn't their game plan, right? They know that South Africa cannot go through phases. Once you tackle them 3-4 times, they're not a multi-phase team, right? So, I'm just giddy, like, thinking about all the tactics. Like, it's just, yeah, man. And then, off the bench, Faf, and Andre Pollard, like, they came on and literally accounted 5 times they did not defensive positioning, like, just mistakes on a defense from the defensive end. 5 times you've both come on as a sub. You're supposed to come steady the ship. 5 times you just do things that are just weird. And being the experienced heads, you're just going to, for example, Faf de Klerk, like, there was literally what was this? later in the game, right? They had a ruck in the 22. They were almost about to get like they were going well. So then this French player is on the ground. Pollard is literally chilling back there waiting for the drop goal, and then he throws the ball straight into the French player, Woki, and then there's an intentional knock on. So Faf is like, nah, but this girl's in the way of my passing lane. The ref was like, no, you literally threw it into him. Your kicker is on that side, you threw it here. You could argue that he's still in the passing line and he's offside, right? You can argue that. But also, I feel like the ref was just being logical. Honestly, had he given it either way, I would not have had an issue. But I feel like what he did was the right decision. You cannot reward like that type of like. Faf just did some other things today, and I was just like, dude, like, is this why Reinach started in front of you? Reinach, I feel like now Reinach is just proving to just be a better scrum half because Faf is just doing dumb shit, right? Like, Kwagga Smith and Dion Fourie coming off the bench were immense. Not only through their play of like getting turnovers and actually tackling and like they steadied the ship. One of the reasons why the ship needed to be steadied is because of Mbongi Mbonambi. Guys, I told you Mbongi Mbonambi for me is a big hole. And there is something... And for me, I said it's going to be a big hole just because of like how... You know when you need that line out 60 minutes and you're like in the 22, you want that line out to go to hand and you actually want to create some pressure. 58th of all. But South Africa have an issue. The game against Ireland, they lost. Their first mole was in the 70-something minute in the 22. Opposition 22, that cannot happen. This game, first mole they had in the opposition, was after 59 minutes. South Africa, after 59 minutes, that was your first mole in the 22, opposition 22. That cannot happen. And even then, the ball did not go to hand. That ball, you took it... Like, Mbonambi had moments of... Like, every time there was an issue, knock-on... Like, Mbonambi was just around there. He had 2 mistakes today off the knock-on and, like, being tackled the ground and then the knock-on. Like, those were the 2 mistakes. Then, I think one, he considered a penalty as well. The skewed line-out. Like, there were just things that he did. And I was just like, dude. Now, the biggest issue with Mbonambi is he's the vice-captain of this team. When Sia goes out, he's the captain. So what happened was that at that moment, you needed people to just level-headed people at that moment. You need to level your team. I feel like Mbonambi leads through fire, right? Which is not a bad thing. You need some of those players. But your main man, the thing with rugby is it's the coach who talks to, the captain who talks to the ref. If your captain is a hothead, that means his communication with the team and the ref is not going to be, like every single time the camera cut to Mbonambi, he's either arguing at the ref or he's doing something like he's just about to do, he's about to beat up the ref. Like, his leadership for me was lacking. And this comes back to my point of having Kwagga and Fourie come on. When Kwagga, Fourie, Mostert came on, Dwayne came back on after the HIA test, they steadied the ship and were just like, guys, like, I need calm heads. Dwayne coming back is understated. He came back and steadied the ship. And Mbonambi, for me, like, these guys need to be careful. When Sia comes off, for me, I feel like Mbonambi still needs to be in the leadership group, someone who leads with fire, but either he changes the way he talks to refs and his demeanor, or they give it to someone like Dwayne Vermeulen, to be honest. Like, that's the type of level-headedness you need from your leader, the person who's going to communicate to the ref and the team. If you then put Dwayne there, then that means Mbonambi is more or less still just focused on the team. But they're not going to do it because the last few years coming to the tournament, that's how it has been. So you don't change up things like those. And you've won anyway. So another thing about South Africa is that this is the first time South Africa scored 4 tries, and I don't think even one of them came from a mole. Like, as South Africa win in a World Cup quarterfinal and no moles, like, that is like, you can't, like, it's hard to think about. So in a way, they have found ways to win without dominating. Actually, they were dominated physically. They found a way to win without dominating you and without moles. But at the same time, the other things that stand out are like, those are glaring issues. Like, there's some glaring issues that the team needs to work on. I still feel like they can get through England just because I don't think England have... the thing is, England can play a really good game and just knock them out. That's the other thing. Like, England, the thing with England is they're not like Fiji, who Um, they need the ball and play well with ball in hand to beat you. Like England cannot, they cannot have the ball and beat you just from discipline, good coaching, organization. Like that's it. So South Africa need to get that organization back. The way they beat the All Blacks just before the World Cup, giving the All Blacks their biggest defeat since Lord knows when. Actually, the biggest defeat ever just before the World Cup. That last game at Twickenham. That's the level of concentration you need to play against England. England have already shown you they can beat a top tier nation in Argentina with 14 men for 70 minutes. Like, do not joke around with that team. I still feel they'll beat them, but there's some moments in this team that can be exposed. Lastly, this was the one where I like my spine was just tingling, right? Like in terms of the coaching, how Dante was putting the line out, like you call the mark and then you call the scrum. Like it's those moments. It's like this is coaching. This is proper coaching. Like it just reminds me of when I used to coach as well, and I used to be like, how do I throw a curveball at the other coach? You know, this the Springboks decided to have Peter Steff on the wing. So Peter Steff would be on the wing, and so most teams do this. You'll have like a forward going on the wing, and just whenever the ball goes there, you have a big ball carrier who can at least go over the advantage line, or even if he goes into contact, there's an option for an offload. So France countered that by literally having, I think, at times they'd have a forward there, or they would their forwards would hesitate. So like if the forwards have been tackled and then the ball comes back, the forwards would take time to come over because they know they're seeing South Africa split their forwards as well. So some forwards come and some forwards stay on that side. That way, you match up in terms of physicality. So let's say the ball goes back to Peter Steff for some reason, and they decide to go phases, or let's say one big phase. If you don't have a big man there, and it's just the likes of Bieri, like the small guys, obviously it's a disadvantage physically. So you need the big guys to go there. But then the counter that South Africa countered was that now, instead of taking the ball there by taking phases, let's kick it to their 5. So what France did is that they put Woki there. Woki is getting ready for Peter Steff in case the ball comes, right? But then Woki is good on the high ball off kickoff reception where he's carried and he gets the ball. He's not good at the ball comes and is jumping up in space, right? But from a South Africa perspective, having someone who's just tall and can contest is an advantage to South Africa because he doesn't need to go up and win the ball. He just needs, catch the ball. He just needs to tap it. That's why you get people like Freddie Stewart of England, like big wingers who can Rico Ioane when he used to play as a in the back three. Big wingers who can actually get the ball like off the high ball. Bomb diffusers, we call them. Now, Woki was forced to be a bomb diffuser, and that's not his thing, right? So he was going to catch and was like, nah, let me go with this. He hasn't, like you can see that it wasn't in his nature. So that one aspect, and then he obviously went up, knock on, ball came, and South Africa went and scored either the first or second try, because their first 2 tries came off kicks. That moment, those 2 kicks, and they just like moments of brilliance from Nina Bear. That one I have to give him credit. Like, and also the execution, because Liebok had to execute, right? The moments of brilliance in coaching. Like this game had amazing moments of brilliance and some really dumb moments, right? So yeah, that for me was like a standout. Like obviously later on, it fell back to France causing havoc through their kicking to South Africa, but like the game was just the game was mental. The game was just mental. I haven't recovered. 4 weird things that happened in this game, and I finish with these 4 weird things. The drop goal off the rack. This boy, Cheslin Colby, all of a sudden wants to kick a drop goal. He picks the ball as a scrum half, and instead of passing it, he wants to do a drop goal. What are you doing, bro? What are you doing? Second one, Jalibert's kick. Jalibert had they got a penalty in their own 22. This boy kicked it, and literally it went backwards in your own 22. What is he doing? Dude, like, it went backwards. Obviously, calling the scrum off a mark, that was also like a weird thing. And then Faf passing into Woki, like when the guy is on the ground. It was just like, I'm seeing things that I've never seen before in my life, right? The other day in one of the videos, I was talking about how I'm yet to see like an actual conversion turned down. Back in the day, people really used to, like Habana, that was his specialty. Like, people used to charge down conversions. Colby did it today, and I was like, yes! Like, it reminded me of the days we used to play high school rugby, and the kicker is just like taking his sweet time. Bro, you come and charge that thing down. So, yeah, shout out to Chelsea and Colby to doing something that was nostalgic to me, and it just reminded me of my high school days. Colby was really special today, and at 136 meters, I think, carried. Boy was special. Anyway, yeah, so that's the semi-final. That's the quarterfinals done. Now we move on to the semis. I'll do a preview for all those things. We'll talk about our Fan City teams. And yeah, just see how we're moving forward. But yo, that was a game and a half. South Africa into the semi-finals. France are out. Allez à la maison! Allez à la maison!